All right, so there's your little review nugget for your test tomorrow. So I'm going to use the verb dibujar, and it's an AR verb. So if I'm making my little chart here, and you might want to do something like this on your test, I don't know. But make sure you keep these straight because, as I told some of you, because you chose this test to be multiple choice, I had to give you fair logical choice answers. So you've got answers that look like they're the right answer that aren't, and you may not have had that problem if you were filling in the blank. So and maybe that's what you would do. Maybe you cover up the multiple choice answers and write the answer in the blank so that you don't get distracted and then match it up to the right answer. But anyway, so dibujar, in the to affirmative form, all I have to do is put dibujar in the usted form, which is dibuja. That's pretty easy. In the to negative, I obviously am going to put no, and then dibujo, like I take the yo form, which would be dibujo. Oh, sorry. And instead of the O ending, I'm going to add the opposite of the to ending. So the to form here would be as, and I'm going to change that to es. So I go to the other kind of verb, right? So no dibujes. And then for usted, all I have to do is take off that s. So that would go away right there. And that would be dibuje, or it would be no dibuje, depending on whether it's negative or affirmative. Ustedes, all I have to do is add an N, so that would be dibujen. And again, it would be no or just regular dibujen, depending on whether it's negative or affirmative. So the big deal here is that to has a different version for affirmative and negative. Usted and ustedes don't. And again, I like to get to to negative first and then start taking things away or adding things to get me to that. That's what I would suggest, but you do what you want to do. Now, let's say I want to say draw the portrait, okay? So the affirmative commands for each of these would be for the to affirmative, usted affirmative, and ustedes affirmative. Now affirmative, I'm always going to add the direct object pronoun to the end of the verb with the command. If it's negative, then I'm going to put it before it. So if I look at el retrato, it is singular and masculine, so my direct object pronoun would be lo. Hopefully all of y'all know that. Okay, so I've got dibújalo. All I did was take the affirmative to and add the lo on the end of it. Usted would be dibújelo, and ustedes would be dibújenlo. And I'm not forgetting the accents, I just wanted to write them all out first. So if I cover these up, dibuja, where do you hear that stress? Dibuja, I hear it on the U. And same thing here, dibuje, dibuje. So accent, accent, accent. Again, it's also cha-cha-cha, 3 back. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So dibújalo, dibújelo, and dibújenlo. Now, if I wanted to go negative, I'm going to go negative 2, negative usted, and negative ustedes. So when I go negative, instead of attaching the direct object pronoun to the end like this, I'm going to put it before it. So all of these are going to start with no, lo. No, lo, no, lo. Now, for the to form, I have a special little negative too, right? So no lo dibujes, no lo dibuje, and no lo dibujen. So that's all the little changes that can take place there. Now I want to talk about the irregular commands in certain verbs. So let me pull that up. Okay, so the affirmative to irregular commands that you need to memorize are decir, which becomes di, salir, which becomes sal, hacer, which becomes as with a Z, ser, which becomes se with an accent. That's one of the only accents we'll actually have without having a pronoun on the end of it. Ir, which becomes ve. Tener, which becomes ten. Here's the other accent, manten. But because I still want it to have that stress on that part, it gets an accent there. Venir would be ven, and poner would be pon. Okay, so those are my irregular affirmative to commands. All right, so my negative irregular to commands, there's only really 4 of them, but you need to keep this stuff in mind too. So dar becomes no des. Estar becomes no estés, and that does get an accent. It will always get an accent its whole life. Ir becomes no vayas, and ser becomes no seas. And again, this is the good one. This is the one you use all the time. Don't be that way. All right. Car, gar, and zar verbs are going to change just like in the preterite, sort of. Actually, just like. So car is going to become que, not with an accent. Sorry, I was thinking of preterite. Gar is going to become ge. So that's a Q, that's a G. And zar is going to become sis. Sorry, these are going to have S's on the end because it is the negative 2 form. But I was thinking in the preterite, which is what you should do to be able to get there. No accents, but S's on the end. So car becomes kes, gar becomes ges, zar becomes sis. Okay? And you also don't want to forget the go verbs. So any of these, tener, venir, poner, hacer, salir. I'm sure there's other great go verbs that I'm forgetting about. But as far as these go and as far as the rest go, it's the same way. Put them in the O form first. That's what's important. So tener is tango, right? And since it was an AR verb, it would be tengas. This would be vengas. This would be pongas. This would be hagas. And this would be salgas. If you want to include that on your irregular list, that's fine. So let's move down to usted and ustedes. And before we move on, let me just stop you right here and say that if I'm creating a list of things that I need to study for this test, this is the most important thing for me to study. Why? Because this is the starting point for everything else, right? So, and I'm sorry, I've highlighted affirmative and affirmative, negative, oh my gosh, affirmative 2 commands and negative 2 commands. So these are kind of the base for everything else, right? So I've got some irregulars listed that they list in the book below here, but really all of these irregular negative 2 commands are the ones that are going to be affected here. So I've got dar, ir, ser, and estar, but I've also got saber. Saber could go up here as well, which would be sepas. It's not going to be any different in the 2 form. Don't worry, it's not on your test. But anyway, so this is going to be this minus the S. That's it. And this is going to be this plus the N. So this is going to be de, and this one happens to have an accent on it. Ir would be vaya. Ser would be sea. Estar would be este. And saber would be sepa. And again, all I have to do is add the N here. So this would be den, no accent. Ir, vayan. Ser, sean. Estar, estén. And saber, sepan. And then again, just to review on those go verbs, tengas would become tenga for the usted form and tengan for the ustedes form. Some errors that I've seen y'all do during practice in class is that you see usted and you immediately put an N on the end of it. Make sure it has that S or it's not plural, okay? This is all of your crazy irregulars. There it is again. Again, I've told you this is a good starting place for you right here, because all you have to do from there is take off the S or add an N, okay? Great place to start. And then you've also got your regular old how to do it sort of thing. Again, I only attach it to the end if it's an affirmative verb and if it's a pronoun. And I only put it before the verb if it's a negative command, okay? And don't forget, your different types of pronouns are going to be lo, la, los, and las for direct object pronouns, and me, te, se, nos, se for your reflexive pronouns. And those are not a trick. They will only be the answer if it's a reflexive verb. Okay? Anyway, that's it. Email me with questions. Good luck. Study.